Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita announced Wednesday he's launching an investigation into tech giants Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Reporter Brock Turner sat down with Indiana's Attorney General to discuss what the investigation could mean for Hoosiers.
The probe will explore whether company policies harmed Indiana consumers, specifically those policies that removed content or limited speech. Rokita says the investigation stems from complaints and his own observations.
These platforms censor information given to consumers. Now, is that censoring abusive, deceptive, unfair? That's what this investigation is about, and if it is, they'd be in violation of Indiana law.
The Attorney General says this probe has nothing to do with past election results, rather understanding how companies craft policies and whether they violated Indiana's consumer protection laws. But experts say the probe could be challenging.
If there was any particular action by his office or lawsuits filed, the big tech firms and their large attorneys would immediately jump in to referee whether there is a state role in regulation or whether that all is entirely left up to the federal government. So this is going to be a very complex and complicated path that Attorney General Rokita is heading down. But I do think it's worth discussing.
Rokita believes it's a fight that's worth taking up.
We are prepared for a long fight, maybe an expensive fight, but there are funds dedicated here in the state of Indiana to make sure consumers are protected.
Proving harm to Hoosier consumers might be difficult, though. Scott Shackelford, an associate professor at Indiana University, says courts have generally adopted a three-part test to assess whether a company could be held responsible for this type of harm.
The injury, right, that's happened, consumer injuries, so both kind of numbers and severity. Number two there would be looking more broadly at the consumer advantages of having access to this technology, along with the kind of expense and difficulty on the business of avoiding the injury or kind of the harm. And then the third part there would have been, how easy was it for consumers to have avoided being hurt?
Despite those challenges, McCall says Rokita's probe could yield both practical and political benefits for the prominent Indiana politician.
Rokita's initiation of this study will resonate with many of his core supporters in Indiana. And I think it's worth noting that he's announced this as an investigation, and it's hard to know what all that might really entail. But it does give Rokita a ramp, so to speak, to engage in the national discussion of what is a very important topic, particularly for right-of-center people.
There's no timeline on when the investigation will conclude. None of the companies named in the inquiry commented for this story. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Brock Turner.